I'm Marcy Crump from the Flywire. This is the 18th annual Baltimore Book Festival. And this is Ladies' Night. Let me start off by introducing our authors. This is my second time hosting a relationship expert, sought after dating a relationship expert, Andrea Syrtash. Her book, and I love her first book, I love the title, Cheat on Your Husband with Your Husband. Now that's scandalous right there. Well, she's also the author of He's Just Not Your Type. She frequently offers relationship advice for national media, including appearances on The View and The Today Show, along with providing coverage for outlets such as USA Today, Cosmopolitan. She's currently the co-host of Life Story Project, airing on OWN, the Oprah Winfrey Network in Canada. That's really nice. Jeff Wilser.
Wilser. I've been called way worse. That's close enough.
Wilser is a nationally syndicated advice writer, a relationship expert, and the author of Maxims of Manhood and a Man Cave book. Okay. His writing has appeared in GQ, Glamour, Esquire, and the Los Angeles Times. The founding editor of ThePlunge.com. He's a monthly contributor to the Knot.com and the Nest.com, and a regular guest on Better TV. Together, they are the authors of It's Okay to Sleep with Him on the First Date and Every Rule of Dating Debunked. Please welcome our experts. I love anything that gets your attention, and I know this is surely to get you ladies thinking and asking questions, but I think both of you guys select maybe your favorite dating rule and your views so we can get the audience thinking.
Okay, well, I will start with...
It's ladies' night.
It's ladies' night. Well, yeah, I'll start with the myth that men are intimidated by successful women. This is something we have interviewed hundreds and hundreds of daters through the years. This is something that keeps popping up. Maybe it's not working out because I'm too successful. Jeff and I wanted to debunk that one for good. That's absolutely not true. In fact, studies we came across showed that smarts and success were in the top 5 things men are looking for. And in case you wondered, being a housewife is number 14 on the same list. And it's really, in fact, and Jeff, as a man, can speak to this better than I can, but, we really, I think that's something we wanted to provide a counter argument to show if it's not working out in dating, we promise it's not because you're bold, strong, and confident. In fact, that's going to attract people to you, but you need to show a bit of vulnerability. You can't be a know-it-all, and that might be the problem. But Jeff, maybe you can address it better than I can.
No, that's well said. I mean, it's pretty simple from my perspective. Like, men like attractive, successful, smart, awesome women. It doesn't seem that complicated, right? And it's unfortunate that there's this perception out there that we're gonna get be intimidated and freak out. And if the guy is intimidated, if he's like, oh my God, I need to be with a doormat. Like, do you want to be with that dude in the first place? Like, there's something very messed up about that.
And that kind of segues to men love bitches and nice guys finish last. Also absolutely not true. Kindness is consistently ranked as a top quality. So the book, and you can pick one of your favorite dating rules, of course, but the book is 50 dating rules we've debunked. Sleeping with someone on the first date is just one of 50. But Jeff, what would you pick?
Yeah, well, and just to talk again about what this book is about. Like, people see a title and it's a fun title about hooking up on the first date and why that's not going, that's kind of the old, that's the most inviolable rule. Ooh, if you hook up on the first date, you are not marriage material. The guy is going to freak out. It's doomed. And one thing we found is that guys don't really care. Once we partnered with Cosmo, and they interviewed 1,000 women, and the women, 82% said they were worried that if they hooked up on the first date, the guy would lose respect. Nearly 70% of men said that just wasn't the case. So there's this massive kind of misconception and perception issue that guys are going to kind of like, you're either booty call material or your wife material, and one or the other. And the reality is not quite that black and white.
Okay, that's really great. Now, I know there are 50 rules.
Yeah.
I think that do any women have like some sure enough rule that you have a problem with, or a sure enough rule that you live by, but you're still single and you want to question it's hard to question your sure enough rules, but if you have a question about a rule of dating and you're still single and you're having an issue, is someone free to come up and ask a question to see what their take is, or something that you can say your girlfriend believes, if you don't want to say
it's always your friend, never you,
your friend,
right?
Or your mother, or someone, or you read in a magazine. Okay, anyone? Okay, and the microphone is over here. Let's make this fun, because you know, if you're single and you're looking, we need all the help we can get. Any question? Okay, y'all can't be. The group over here that had...
Well, I can ask you guys, how many times have you heard women should never pursue guys? Man, I mean, that's a dating rule. That is a dating rule that I've heard a lot.
Yeah, and that's a good one, Andrea. That's what, that's to me is the that's the core message of the book, The Rules. That, you guys have, we all know the book, The Rules, right? Has anyone read the book, The Rules? Kind of like, that's that you...
Yeah, I don't...
Right. So one thing I find hilarious in that book is that they have a chapter, not only a chapter on do not approach the man first, but also do not even look at the man. So the thinking is, if the woman looks at me, I'm like, she was pretty hot and awesome. It's too bad she looked at me. Now it's ruined. That makes no sense.
It's so many. So what Jeff and I are battling against, to be just totally frank here, is a lot of the dating advice industry is based on fear-based messages that are frankly condescending. They don't trust. We have not written this book for 17-year-olds. We trust that you have a brain. You can think about what works for you. Hopefully you learn from dating patterns that aren't working. But the tagline of our book is don't trust the rules, trust yourself. And we want to shine the light on, frankly, the stupidity a lot in this industry, which is selling fear and negativity to get you to buy more, to get you to buy it.
We're fine heel buying books, we should say.
Yeah, that's not. But, we want you to date authentically, live authentically, and rules don't really help you do that.
Well, let's just start with the title, the rule with the title, because even though the title says this, would you also, well, you have a question? Oh, wow.
A couple of things. Culturally, have you accounted for culture?
Yeah, one thing that we're big believers in is there is no absolute right or wrong thing for all people, for all situations, for all contexts, for all cultures. You have a lot of folks say, well, their norms or what they feel was right might be different north versus south or East Coast, West Coast or whatever. And that's cool. All we're saying is whatever anyone's value, whatever your value or anyone's value is, live by those values. Don't live by what someone else prescribes as a one-size-fits-all rule for everyone.
Yeah, so the very first words of our book is, it's okay to sleep with him on the first date. It's also okay to not sleep with him on the first date, and it's okay to wait 3 dates, 3 weeks, or 3 years before sleeping with him. Ultimately, it has to do with your comfort level, and as Jeff said, the problem with the dating advice industry is that Patty Stanger goes out, the millionaire matchmaker. Men don't like redheads. Men don't like curly hair. She makes her clients straighten their hair. This is insulting. It's not true. If you want to straighten your hair, if you don't like your red hair, power to you, change it. But don't change it because someone on television with a popular show tells you men aren't interested in that, because that's just frankly not true.
Well,
Right.
I would agree with that you should trust yourself. Some people just don't trust themselves, though, so maybe they need some guidelines. I'm not one of those people. But nevertheless.
You seem pretty self-assured, which I respect.
But here's my other question. So if men like to pursue, is that true? Is there any truth to that?
Sure.
That they like to chase?
Yes.
So if there is some truth to that, then if I go out with him on the first date and sleep with him, he hasn't had the chance to chase me.
So, okay, that's a great question. That's a really good question. We've heard a lot of different forms of that, and it's a good one to address. It's true that men do like to pursue, right? Not all guys are as good pursuers as others. So there are a lot of guys who, like, to go into bar context, you say, oh, well, you know, if a guy men are pursuers. If he really likes me, he'll pursue me, and if he's not asking me out, then clearly he doesn't like me. A lot of guys kind of suck at the bar scene, right? A lot of guys aren't very good at knowing, like, how to talk to women and stuff. It's awkward and complicated, and we're confused. But to get, more squarely address the issue of on a first date, if you are most comfortable ensuring that there's also that kind of like courtship and that back and forth for a while, for many dates or many weeks, great. Then we say follow that instinct.
The book is full of strategies, so it's not 350 pages of just do this or don't do that. You know, obviously that wouldn't be really good advice. So we provide, you know, some strategies around every rule and perspectives based in research. But as Jeff said, I don't think women or men don't want to be chased too much. If a guy is calling you every day, I need you, I want you, I want you, I want you, women are going to, you know, whether you're gay, straight, man, woman, it's too much if someone comes on too strong all the time. So, of course, we believe in balance. We don't think you should pursue him and call him 10 times a day. There's still social cues and etiquette. I actually often give the example of when you're interviewing for a job. If you want the job, you would know better than you wouldn't call every day, did I get the job? Did I get the job? There's a bit of a dance that happens. That said, what we found with Cosmo magazine and what we found by talking to real men is that sex is hardly the thing that, the promise of sex is, if a man disappears after sleeping with you, he never really saw you in his future. That's the hard reality. It's not because you slept with him that he disappeared. Because first of all, that makes him a hypocrite. He was there too. Second of all, we have interviewed hundreds at this point of people who got married after hooking up on a first date to know that if the guy or woman is interested, they're interested. And rules really don't matter.
Yeah, the bottom line is if there's chemistry, it's probably going to work out, no matter if you follow the rules or not. And if there's not chemistry, it's probably also not going to work out. You know, so the rules are kind of irrelevant, right? I mean, as Andrea said, there are strategies, and we're not saying, it's not that, remember that one Seinfeld episode where George Costanza does the opposite of his instincts? This is not the Costanza book where we're saying the opposite. We're not saying, oh yeah, I always hook up on a first date. Wear pajamas on a first dates. Like, you know, date prisoners in jail cells. We're not saying just be dumb and do crazy things. We're saying that a really slavish, you know, limited focus, vision, adherence to the rules, that's what kind of like drives everyone bonkers.
And also, to be successful in love, and this is a broad statement, but truly, you have to take risks. You have to get out of your comfort zone. The rules don't allow that. They make you second guess your instincts. They make you play small because your instinct may be, tonight was a fabulous date. I want to tell this guy I had so much fun, but the rules book told me I have to wait 3 days. So, okay, wait. You know, it can really sabotage something.
Yeah, to piggyback off that, the rules book, our favorite book, has a sequel that came out recently, and it's called Not Your Mother's Rules. And it pretty much is your mother's rules. And it's they have kind of an updated section on, I mean, it's actually good comedy. You guys check us out. There's a section on this new media of like text messages and stuff. And they acknowledge that texting is a little different ballgame than phones. So it's, you know, it's to clear this up for you women, because you can't you women are not smart enough to think for yourself. So the rules book, they have a helpful grid, a matrix. And they plot in this matrix based on, I think it's when the guy calls you and how old you are. So one axis is your age.
There
and
is
one
a
axis,
table in the
I'm not
book.
making this up.
There
and
is
one
a table in the
axis is
book.
like the time. And it shows you how many hours or days, as the case may be, to wait until you text him back. Like, I mean, call me crazy. We don't think you guys need matrices and graphs. I think people are smart, you know? So we as Andrea said, our theme is don't trust the rules, trust yourself. And you might say, okay, why do we need a book to like know that? Can't we just get a tweet instead of a book? But it's amazing how many rules you don't even think about that are out there in the world that kind of seep into the ecosystem, that kind of seep into our head and make us all crazy. So we try and unpack these and unravel them so we can all see a little more clearly. It's a long rant. Thank you for indulging me there.
I know you have to have a question. Okay, great.
Speaking of rules and Patty Stanger, I do like to watch The Millionaire Matchmaker, and one of the rules that she stated in an episode is that you shouldn't be dating a person for more than 6 to 9 months before the topic of marriage comes up, and he should be proposing. So I know people that have been together for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, and they're still not married. So I wanted to know, what do you think is an appropriate time frame to be dating someone before that comes up?
Thank you so much for bringing that up, because that is in our book. Patty Stanger won't like us after she sees our book.
You're not getting a holiday card from her this year.
We're recording
It
this.
is a ridiculous rule. It's an offensive rule. 6 to 9 months. She actually says if he hasn't put a ring on your finger after a year, move on. One problem with that. What if you don't want a ring on your finger after a year? Has that ever crossed her mind? No, because she's in an archaic. She's writing advice for a woman from the 1950s, truly, and she's entertaining on television. It's a fun show. The problem is women are quoting it like gospel, and it's screwing us up. And the thing about the ring after a year, you know, I wrote an article. I think it was for Oprah.com on Kate Middleton, how many years she waited. She had all this pressure, you know, about settling. Are any of us worried right now about the princess? I mean, there are so many people, and there are people who never want to get married, who want to cohabitate. That's happening. The bottom line is there's no should. I always say stop shoulding all over yourself. There's no should, there's only want. If you want to make authentic decisions, what do you want? What does your partner want? If you're both aligned with those wants, you have a good relationship. But if you're living by your parents' shoulds, society's shoulds, your friends' shoulds, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
All right, and also, if anyone else, like, feel free to challenge. There are a lot of people we've talked to who are like, BS, guys. There's some really good rules, and here's one that I really like. I mean, if there's rules that are important to you, definitely feel free to challenge us, and we'll have that discussion.
Question right now.
So I have a rule, and I don't know if it's a good one, but you can give some feedback on it. So my rule is, one, I think if a man is interested, he would show it. That's my belief. So if a man doesn't call you back, right, I believe in, okay, if you're interested, call back. However, if he doesn't call you back, it is my opinion that he's just not interested, and I need to move on with my life. Yes?
Yeah, I think that's I think it's a good mindset. I think that one thing we talk about in the book a lot is that actions speak louder than words, and the guy can say whatever he wants to say on the date or in way of apology, but if he's mistreating you or not respecting you or MIA, or if he takes a long time to text you back or call you back, or if he's always like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, then like trust your gut. Trust, and you sound like you have a good instinct, and follow that for sure.
Part of that is the social cues we were talking about, right? So if, like Jeff said, if your gut's saying, I've called twice, he's not being responsive, he's not really stepping forward. If you were in a job scenario or another scenario, you would pick up on cues. So it's still, you know, there's still cues. I often say, pretend your dating life is a silent movie. Look at what the guy or woman is doing or not doing. That'll tell you everything you need to know. Because charmers are the worst, and they will tell you that they are taking you to Paris this summer, that they are, and then we hold on to that, and weeks go by, but they're not really showing it. So it's really about the actions.
One thing, though, that I think your rule for yourself is great. And also, I think I would encourage everyone to make their own rules for them. That's a good kind of rule of thumb. That's a good rule, yeah. I believe in rules for each person. I don't believe in all of us blindly adopting this global set of rules that, who knows who even invented these things. But to that one in particular, there's a danger, though, of the whole idea of he's just not that into you. And we cover this in the book, of taking that too far to the extreme. I think you're absolutely right. Sorry, I can't really see you because of the blinding lights, but you're absolutely right that, yeah, if he gives a strong pattern of disrespect or not following up, for sure, follow an instinct. But one kind of slippery consequence of that mega blockbuster, he's just not into you, is that a lot of women think any sign, like the slightest misstep he makes, the slightest thing he does, saying, oh, he says he's busy this weekend, or his mom's in town, and he has something, oh my God, if he liked me more, he would invite me.
Because he's just not that into you. By the way, there's a quote in the book that says, busy is a load of crap. Okay?
Some guys are busy.
Some guys are busy.
We often are not. We often are lame, but sometimes we really are.
When Jeff was writing the book, you were really into a woman.
Yeah,
he ironically probably was working on the chapter. He's just not that into you.
I literally was working on this chapter.
Could not see her then.
I had like crazy deadlines. I was getting up at like 6:30 in the morning to write these things, and I couldn't go out for this week, and I think she was like, ugh. Screw this guy.
He's just
not into me.
into
I'm like,
me.
actually, I was. I had deadlines. I was again, the spirit and that rule, like a lot of rules, does have a kernel of truth. There is something to the spirit of that if his actions suggest a pattern of lack of interest, yeah, follow that. But it doesn't mean that, okay, Friday nights doesn't have time for me. That bastard, not going to work.
Okay. We are blinded over here. So
Yeah,
we have to go.
I want to say another thing about that, because I think it's really hard dating. What's so draining about dating is that you keep going out, especially if you're online dating. It's a lot of, most dates will fail. That's the reality of the dating game. And it's really hard to keep putting yourself out there, and it's tiring, and it's a very vulnerable game to put yourself out there. So I think these rules give us a weird sense of protection, like I'm not going to take a risk now because he's busy tomorrow night, so I'm going to move on. And sometimes we close doors that could have had potential.
The rules, I think it's a great point. And the rule, here's a almost scary thing to say and admit, but in some ways, the rules can kind of be a cop-out. If things don't work out, we can tell ourselves, oh, you know what? We were a good match. He liked me, I liked him, except, damn it, I didn't follow Rule 14B, And so it lets us tell what's kind of white lie to ourselves that we're awesome, like we have a good match here, and if I followed the rules better, it would have worked out. Well, the reality might be, it just wasn't chemistry. It doesn't mean anyone's bad or not awesome enough. It just means that wasn't a good fit. And that's cool. Like that's, as Andrea said, most days, the math things will not work out until they do. Like you will keep breaking up until you're married or whatever, cohabitating or happy or dead, whatever. It will keep happening, and that's okay.
Did you interview different age categories? Because one of the things I realized, I'm in my late 40s, although I do look
You
late
look
30s.
good. Now I can't see you now.
If I may say so myself. But one of the things I found out with me and my colleagues and friends of our age group, we never learned how to date specifically. All we know is you meet somebody, you like them, and then you hook up and you're boyfriend and girlfriend all of a sudden. So did you notice a difference in demographics between people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s? I don't know how wide your study was, culturally as well, because African Americans do date differently than non-African Americans, and if we do date, because that's one of the things that we
don't
just
date.
don't date, we hook up. So I wanted to find out if we get in a relationship. So we wanted to find out, did you see a bell curve or anything like that based on your study?
Well,
Based on
okay,
your
here's
study?
the thing. No, it's a really good question. I'm bell curve, but
We have bell curves
okay.
everywhere in the book. Bell
Yeah,
curves
yeah.
everywhere.
Everywhere. But no, for real, like we interviewed all ages. One of the best interviews I did was with an 84-year-old woman. I said, "What's the secret to a good relationship?" She said, "The most important thing you can offer in a relationship is your presence. And your generation is so distracted." I was like, "That is so smart. I love that." I tweeted that.
Yeah.
But anyway, but
Like, well, I didn't hear you. What?
I was on Twitter. No, but we interviewed different ages. Here's the thing. It does look different in certain things. So superficial things look different. Like someone who's 21 might prefer a text over a call. Someone who's 38 says, "Dude, pick up the phone." Like, why do you never pick up the phone? It can be different, but by age and of course, different communities. Some are more traditional, of course. But basic relationship principles apply no matter if you're 15, 50, or 85. People want to be seen, heard, and acknowledged. Simple, right? And the litmus test that I always say, and this is where a lot of the Oprah, but it's very true. It comes out, is focus less on the person you're dating and look at who you are with them, and you will get everything. No, but it's true. You will learn everything you need to learn. So if you're generally a balanced, happy person, and you're dating someone who's great on paper, but you're suddenly insecure, crazy, polling people on the street, asking strangers at parties. I've been there. It's really awkward. That's not your match. It's kind of simple. The person you're with will bring out your best.
And real quick, was there a hand up? Okay. Andrea mentioned a text call thing. One quick anecdote that's in the book as well. There are a lot of questions we get about, call versus texting. And it's a faceted question actually about differences in gender or age, whatever. We found this fascinating divide. And we were in New York interviewing men and women in bars about kind of dating norms and stuff. And we asked men and women, hey, do you prefer texting or calling? Almost every guy we talked to said, oh yeah, women these days, no one has time for the phone. They want to be like, they like text. That's what the kids do these days. They want to be texted. So men were all saying text, text, text. In
Text.
Sorry, Freudian slip. In the same bar across the room, women were like, why won't they call? Like, call,
I want a
call.
show of hands. How many of you prefer a call when you're asked out versus a text? Okay.
And text? Yeah, so
Yeah,
about
it's a minority, but
4-to-1 ratio, it looks like about.
yeah.
We'll get a bell curve on that.
It's age.
Yeah. Generational differences.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
But the larger point here, though, is it was really funny for us to see that. But the larger point was that what happens as a result of this kind of disconnect is men will often text women because we're dumb and confused. We think that women want to be texted, and we're just wrong. So it's not, and the woman, and here's the irony. The woman often thinks, oh, the guy is texting, not calling, because he's either like a coward or not really into me.
Quote from He's Just Not That Into, men know how to use the phone. Go on, Jeff.
Right, and so if he's not calling you, clearly he's not into you. And it might be, it's not that he's not that into you. It's not that he's like, he's just too busy to call you. It's more, he genuinely, earnestly thinks you'd prefer him to text. And he's probably just dead wrong, right? So a lot of and if you follow the rules to the T, you'd be like, this guy's kind of lame, he's texting, not calling. And so so our book kind of walks through a lot of situations like that, where following the rules too much to the letter can actually cause you to overlook your match, or can cause you to kind of cut bait too soon. Because it's very easy. The rules are very good at making us feel safe, at giving armor. The rules make us say, yeah, if I follow the rules, I won't get hurt. And there's something, truthful to that you can, if you never talk to people, you'll never get hurt. If you're like, oh, I have a rule, I just stay at home and don't talk to anyone, you will not get hurt. Your life is probably going to be pretty miserable, right? So as Andrea talks a lot about, way more articulately than me, about the importance of being vulnerable and taking risks.
Right. The next question, right?
So I've recently started online dating for the first time, and it's kind of a different scene, and I've met a guy 3 or 4 times now, but I haven't felt an instant chemistry, and I don't know whether to keep trying or to just stop seeing him. So I don't have a gut feeling, and I don't know if it always has to be that instant chemistry, or if things can build and turn into something different.
My first question, is he in the audience here tonight?
No.
Okay.
There are no men in the audience. Where would he be?
All right, so you've been out with him a few times now? Okay. That's a great question. And one thing we cover in the book is the love at first sight. And is that, do you need to have this kind of instant spark? Kind of this swelling music, the slow motion scene. And I think this, to a lot of extent, Andrea, jump in here if I'm going wildly, of course. At a lot of extent, no, you don't need that. But if after a while you feel like it's a chore and you feel like, I'm kind of powering through this to see if I like him, dating shouldn't really be a chore.
It should be fun. I mean, this is where the should want litmus test might come in. Am I going out because I should give him a chance, or do I really want to be there? That might help direct you a little bit. There are two, and Jeff, you've heard this so many times, but the thing that I encourage people to ask in early dating, ask themselves, are 3 questions. 1, am I having fun right now? Especially on a first date. Am I having fun right now? 2, am I curious to learn more about this person? 3, am I attracted? Now, attracted doesn't mean I need to rip his clothes off, but do I get the heebie-jeebies when I think about him kissing me? Or could it kind of be sweet? I don't, you don't have to be over the moon, as Jeff said, but you should know if you're curious to learn more and having fun. Because right away, love at first sight is a very dangerous thing at times. It's a very romantic idea, but you're looking at the packaging. And you don't fall in love with a piece of paper, So it really has to be not how someone looks, but how you feel.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say there is that I have personal experience failing in this, of trying in a relationship too long to be like, okay, I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna make it work. I even told my buddies one time, I was like, all right, guys. We'll see. I don't know, but the jury's out, but I'm just going to power through the courtship phase to get to the good stuff. And they're like, dude, you don't power through the courtship phase. That's kind of the fun stuff. And then later on, the work, So if you're like, you shouldn't have to soldier on those first several dates.
That's true.
All right. Who else has some friends with questions?
One of the questions that I ask my girlfriends is, when is the right time to tell people, important things about you, right? You're not going to tell them everything initially, but things that you think might impact the relationship. So one important thing in my life is that there will be no benefits. You understand what I'm saying? So when do you tell the guy that, right? Because, I've been rejected several times. It's okay, because people have different, whatever. You want this, I want that, that's fine. But when do you kind of say that?
Are you can I just ask you, sex?
Yes,
Are we talking about sex?
No benefits, no benefits.
Before the appetizer comes, right away.
Yeah, I mean, I think first, second date, no, you don't want TMI. You don't want too much information because there's something about like being your vacation self on an early date. Like, just kind of being like, I have a drink in my hand. This is really fun. As it progresses, I think you do start talking about all kinds of important things. It aligns with who you are and what you value, and it'll probably naturally, organically come up.
He'll bring it up.
Or he'll bring it up. But I don't think it needs to be. What do you think, Jeff? Does it need to be a big conversation?
No,
I wouldn't make it a big conversation.
I would not make it like the big talk, like capital T, capital B, capital T. I wouldn't do it like, all right, it's, hey, I think let's have a conversation now about, the benefits. I wouldn't, I think it's more about, I'm guessing there are other things that aren't quite benefit-y, but, in that direction that you do. Like, and so maybe it's like, more organically when those benefit-y-ish things are kind of going on, you say, all right, we can do this, buddy, but we're not doing this, Like, I think that's probably going to be better received than if, like, you're having the most awkward dinner in the world talking about this,
Yeah, that was a good one. Benefit-y things.
I've never said that in my life, I'm pretty sure.
I'm quoting you on that.
I'm asking for a friend via text.
Okay.
I like it.
The rule on waiting 3-ish months to meet the parents.
Yeah, I think that's honestly, like a lot of rules, I don't think that it really should be hard and fast. But I think I think what matters is your comfort level. And there's probably is a correlation often between like how serious it feels and your comfort and 3-ish months. So if that like tends to feel right, go with your gut and do it, great. But I think that the real spirit behind that rule, I agree with, that don't do it too soon. Like, oh, it was a great first date last week. This guy's awesome. I feel it. It's going to work. My mom's in town. What the hell? Let's meet on Tuesday. Like,
not a good idea.
Go ahead. I have a story after you go.
But if you're a mother of children, there is more of a rule around that because obviously for a kid, it's really confusing if there's people coming in all the time. So it's less important. The rule is less important when you're meeting the parents versus when you are the parent. That's important.
And then there's some people that live in communal environments. So a first date, you might meet,
That's the first date. That's the family.
The cousins.
Yeah, the whole family. Like, so if they can pass that test, then yeah.
So I was dating a woman a few years ago, and it might have been 3 or 4 weeks in. It was fairly serious. It was more than kind of fling. We were dating, and we were going to a movie. So the plan was to meet at this like theater. She texted me 5 minutes prior to our meeting at the theater. She's like, hey, I'm actually a block away from the theater, just finishing up dinner with my dad. Can you meet us there? I'm like, okay. And so I get to this restaurant, and with her dad, her brother, like other family friends, like, oh, Jeff, great. We're just ordering appetizers right now. And so I'm ambushed into this 3-course dinner. We blow the movie off and so on. So that's one of those situations where I'm like, I kind of wish you would have followed the rules a little bit there. So we're not saying in the book, if you like the guy, F the rules, do whatever the hell you want. There's oftentimes, like Xander said, it's about strategy and social cues and kind of following, what seems to make logical sense as opposed to just like, our chemistry is so, we're such a special couple that all common sense goes out the window. No, common sense is still appropriate.
I respectfully disagree with what was said earlier about his name Greg Barrett or whatever. I forgot the author's name. The one about if he's not into you. If a guy doesn't call you back, he's not into you. I mean,
if he doesn't call you back ever, or call you back once.
No. He generally speaking, you have to have rules in a lot of things in life, and there are plenty of exceptions that come up in life, and that's the challenge of who you are to adapt to those exceptions. But as a man, I know men. I've been a man for over 30 years of my life. The question would be to you: were you in love with her, and how long you dated her? if my mother called me, unless I was having brain surgery, she'd know my presence was felt. So what you said about that octogenarian lady who said that is crucial advice because it's about your presence. If she knows my presence is there, then it's a reflection of where her ego is there, that she can't accept the love that I can give her right then. But she knows my presence is there. And the second thing is, when I go out and I meet people, and I was dating someone recently that didn't work out, I interview people who have been married 12 years. I talk to people who had that success. I don't care that much what a single woman thinks or a single man thinks. I care what a woman, how she's changed from being happily married to when she was single, and how she looks at a man differently and expresses herself differently and uses those social cues and uses those hidden body language things that men respond to that don't trample on his ego.
Absolutely.
So it's important that I think women, when they spread the information around, like what Patty Stanger does, Patty Stanger is right on that one point, and it's important. The point that this woman made, that you guys were refuting, that Great Barron made, not really the fact about getting married. If a man is into you, he may never tell you he wants to get married to you. He may never tell you that the relationship, he wants it to grow or you become closer, but he's thinking about it.
Absolutely, but he may not want to propose, nor may you want to be married in a year.
But
if
he's thinking about it, it'll show in his behavior.
Absolutely.
He won't say it, but men
absolutely.
Yeah, I think we agree with that.
We
It's-
agree.
Picking up chairs and giving up the seat for the woman. He's not
Sure.
going to say, I gave you up the seat because you're really pretty, you're really smart. He's just going to do it. So it's his behavior that
It's
you
his
pay attention
actions.
to.
Couldn't agree more. That's
Right.
exact. Yep.
Yeah.
Actions speak louder than words. Totally agree. And I think we also agree the idea that the guy's not calling you back. That's a sign, and his action is lack of interest. So totally on the same page. We agree with all of that. It's I think what we found is the overreaction is the slightest kind of seizing upon any guy's behavior that shows a smidgen of other things going on in his life and lack of interest, becoming overly protective and overly eager to kind of bolt. That we kind of want to guard against.
And that's ego, because if you sense he's into me, but he's busy this weekend, but I feel he's into me, you should follow that and trust that he is busy this weekend. So we don't believe in love has nuance. I mean, I've been interviewing married couples for 10 years. Most of them, if you talk to happily married people, they will list 5 rules that they broke. I promise you. It can be, as big as sleeping together too soon, to
benefits.
To dating someone of another benefity, to we got married after 3 years because I was in grad school and I wasn't ready after a year. I mean, they've broken.
Dating a coworker, that's a rule.
Dating
No
a
different coworker.
coworker.
That happens all the time.
Dating outside the faith, dating different ages. I mean, we have interviewed happily married couples who have broken rules, and it happens more than it doesn't happen.
One more thing that you mentioned this in your question, and we cover in the book a lot about online dating. Who here has a friend who does online dating, or you do it yourself, right? So it's and I think there's often still it's interesting. It's 10 years ago, there was clearly a stigma, right? Oh, I don't want to be that person who has to resort to it. Whereas now, though, there have been, Andrea, you know the stats better than I do,
Over 40 million Americans, which is close to half the single population, are dating online. 1 in 5 people say they met online. 1 in 5 people who are married today met through an online dating site.
Thanks for bailing me out there. What's interesting, though, is that it's not about do you do it or not do it. It's how to, and it's not this kind of binary thing of I'm either real dating or I'm online dating. And if I do online dating, I've given up on real dating. Like, that makes no sense. The strategy we give in the book is using online dating as one of many ways to actually go on real dates. And there's a misnomer in a way. Online dating is not really online dating. We do not recommend sitting in front of your computer and doing weird chats with people and stuff, that sounds really dumb and awful and a waste of time. I think it's what's most useful is having a conduit to meeting other people and actually, as soon as possible, meeting them in real life and not having some lengthy pen pal back and forth. Yes, you were.
Okay, so for online dating, I feel like you're more often than other types of dating, meeting people that you don't know if you get along or whatever, like this guy. So if I don't feel that excited to see him again, he's a perfectly nice guy, we've had a fine time, what do you say now? Okay, we had fun, but I don't really want to talk to you anymore.
It's a good question. It's awkward, right? But you don't have to break up with someone you've only gone out with a few times, because that's actually more awkward, because then they're I'm sure that's happened to everyone, where someone has let you down and you're we weren't really I mean, why
Let's
are you
have the big talk now.
So, right. But if you spent, months with someone, then if you feel if your gut is telling you, I can't just disappear, that's wrong. I think in that case, an email is perfectly appropriate. Not if you've been dating for months and months, but if you've gone out a few times and you just want to have some closure, to say, you're really fantastic, but I don't know that we're a match, and I wish you all the very best.
Yeah, it's really well put. And actually, that's an age-old question that I don't think anyone's really cracked. What's the least awkward way to dump someone when you're not really dating, And do you do the fade out? Do you kind of ghost away, Yeah. So one thing I was, a couple years ago, I was dating, we went a couple times. I was oh, she's cool. I want to go out with her. I was very intrigued and interested. And she let me down she emailed me and gave a very similar to what Andrea said of hey, I had an awesome time. You're great. I don't think we're a match, but thanks again, and good luck out there.
And that's part of the
honestly,
game.
I read the email. I was that was so effing cool of her. I was
and you liked her more.
I did.
Damn it.
It was actually not that awkward. And I was it was actually just honest. She has weird thing of was just kind of honest, and it works.
Yeah. Confident. If you're honest and confident, and respectful, and you acknowledge, going back to everyone wants to be acknowledged, you probably, and if someone gets too defensive, look, the game of online dating, people sometimes have 15 in a rotation. You can't even remember who you're meeting Friday night, because it's a rotation. So that goes with the territory. So don't feel too badly if it happens to you, or if you have to do it to someone else you've met online.
And we do feel very strongly about going from online to offline as soon as possible. If you like the guy or woman, because there's so much danger of developing kind of cyber chemistry, and cyber chemistry is freaking worthless, right? You could have this great kind of witty email banter. That's not always worthless. It might actually be an indication that you have comparable values and all that stuff and yada yada, and that's all great. But it's worthless on its own. It has to be backed up by real in-person physical.
Yeah, we can all think of the show Catfish. Yes. And how many people, that's a whole nother topic. But we're about to end, and this was really, really, really fun. And I bet you had more questions or more friends that we could talk about so we can go help them. But be sure to get the book.
And guys, if you're tweeting, please tweet us. We would love to hear from you. Our hashtag is Dating Debunked. And Baltimore Book Fest also has a hashtag.
And our handle, she's Andrea Syrtash. I'm Jeff Wilser. I'm a newscaster. Back to you for sports.
Back to you for sports.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.